and we look forward to hearing from him about the efforts of the Department of Justice to combat violent crime. Ladies and gentlemen, the Acting Attorney General of the United States, Matthew Whitaker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mike, for that kind introduction. And more importantly, thank you for 11 years of service as the District Attorney General here in the state, and now as the United States Attorney. I continue to believe that the United States Attorney job is the best job that anybody could ever have. So you're lucky to have it. Just be careful what you volunteer for next.
Yes.
Thank you also to Acting Director Tom Brandon. It's really good to be with you. We enjoyed our coming down here today with you and spending some time. Marcus Watson is also here from ATF. Good to see you, Marcus. Thanks for being here. Jim Catalano and Brett Pitts from DEA are somewhere here. Hey, guys. Mo Myers of the FBI, U.S. Marshal Jeffrey Holt, Channing Irvin with the Secret Service, Postal Inspector Dwight Jones, John Condon of HIS, Sheriff Guy Buck, Sheriff Floyd Bonner, Sheriff John Mayer, Chief Julian Weiser of the Jackson Police, Chief Buddy Lewis of Covington, Chief Richard Hall of Germantown, Chief Mike Dunbar of Millington, Chief Steve Isbell of Dyersburg, Larry Lorenzi, former U.S. Attorney, Western District of Tennessee, Eddie Walker, Tipton County Sheriff's Office, District Attorneys General Amy Wyrick. You were worried I was going to mispronounce that, Mike. He's like, it's not phonetic. You got to pronounce it right. Jody Pickens and Mark Davidson, also District Attorneys General. Glad you're here. And Captain Roy Brown, Captain Jimmy Johnson, and Captain Curtis Mansfield of the Tennessee Highway Patrol. It's great to be with so many members of law enforcement over Thanksgiving. On Thanksgiving Day, I was able to go to the Des Moines Police Department in my hometown, in central Iowa, and thank the officers at 6 a.m. during the shift change, where they were kindly provided by their friends of law enforcement a hot breakfast, and was able to thank those working on Thanksgiving Day, protecting us and keeping us safe. And then I had the great fortune of going to my hometown where I grew up, Ankeny, Iowa, and talking to 9 officers there and just thanking them for everything they do and telling them how much we appreciate what they're doing and working on Thanksgiving Day so that we can enjoy our families while they're out patrolling the streets and keeping everybody safe. So I know that your officers and your deputies do that every day, and I really appreciate it as Attorney General. And I'm grateful for the contribution that everyone here today makes to keeping us safe and protecting our communities, which is our shared mission and our shared goal. Every day our officers go into dangerous situations so the rest of us don't have to, and they work on holidays so the rest of us don't have to. And your work has a real impact on our communities. We don't just prosecute crime at DOJ, we work to prevent crime. After all, most people are not criminals. In fact, most of the crime in this country is committed by a relatively few criminals. If we can take those few criminals off our streets, then we can keep them from committing a lot more crimes in the future. And that's what Mike's been doing here in Memphis. Over the last few decades, the law enforcement community has developed new technologies and new strategies that have made us better able than ever to do just this. This office, for example, submits all the shell casings you find on crime scenes to the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network, or NIBIN, as it's affectionately called, which can trace them back to the gun that fired them. That helps us find shooters and connects the dots between cases. I was very excited when I was in Des Moines last week that they had just got their NIBIN machine at the Des Moines PD, and they were so excited to have that. This is great work, and the Department of Justice is investing in it. 2 months ago, we awarded $1.1 million for technology and for personnel to operate an ATF Crime Gun Intelligence Center, or CGIC, here in Memphis. This is the model that was pioneered in recent years in Denver, and now we're bringing it here to Memphis. CGICs help reduce violent crime by using forensic science and data analysis to identify, investigate, and prosecute shooters and their sources for the guns they use for crime. Relying on intelligence from NIBIN, crime gun tracing, and good old-fashioned police work, CGICs, provide law enforcement leads in real time to identify serial shooters, disrupt criminal activity, and prevent future gun violence. This department is proud to invest in this important work. I believe that we have a real mandate from the American people to keep them safe. When President Donald Trump came into office, violent crime had risen sharply, especially in our major cities. After 2 decades of historic decreases in crime, the trends had suddenly reversed. From 2014 to 2016, the violent crime rate went up nearly 7% nationwide. Robberies went up, assaults went up by over 8%, rape went up by 13%, and murder went up by 21%. Here in Memphis, murder went up 40%. In 2016, there were nearly 200 homicides in Memphis. That means that nearly 40% of all homicides in Tennessee happened right here in Memphis. Unfortunately, violent crime in Memphis went up another 10% in 2017. Last year, the murder rate, the assault rate, and the robbery rate in Memphis were each 5 times the national average. And this is nothing new to you all. You have been working so hard to reduce those trends. And I'm proud to stand side by side with you as the Acting Attorney General to do this important work. And obviously, you share my concern that these trends cannot continue. We have to stop them. We've got to get back on track. We've got to get back to reducing crime like we did for 20 years. And over 5.5 years, I was working on that issue as a United States Attorney for the Southern District of Iowa. And of course, I recognize that every district is different. Your challenges are different, your communities are different. But here in Memphis, the great deal of those concerns and that violent crime rate are gun crimes. Our local partners here in Memphis have told me that in the first 10 months of this year, there were 283 reported armed carjacking incidents within the city, which represents a 63% increase compared to the same period last year. Mike and I were upstairs talking about this very trend and what we're going to do about it. There's also been a dramatic increase in thefts from gun stores. I'm told that in 2018 there's been about a 66% increase in burglaries and robberies of gun stores. And we were talking about that on the plane ride down, Tom. That means more illegal guns on the streets and more illegal guns in the hands of criminals. And that usually means more shootings and more armed robberies. That is why I'm so impressed with Mike and his team and what they've been able to do in this office and partnering with their state and local partners. Under the local Project Safe Neighborhoods initiative, they have made prosecuting the most violent offenders the priority, and it shows. Over the past 3 years, ATF has steadily increased gun recoveries from more than 4,200 to more than 4,500 per year now. Mike also seeks maximum penalties for gun crimes. As this office has been telling the criminals, gun crime means max time. And as a side note, Mike has been a very good U.S. attorney in keeping us in Washington, D.C. informed of his efforts and sends me a regular update as to what he's doing on Project Safe Neighborhoods via email, together with his opinion pieces that he has placed in some of the papers. And I'm proud of you, Mike. You are a leader among leaders. I think that it's inappropriate because every year I think that this term, gun crimes mean max time, I think it's appropriate because every year a firearm offender is behind bars is another year that he or she isn't shooting or robbing anybody in Memphis. That approach has led to a lot of successes here in Memphis, and I'm going to just name a few. This past January, this office secured a 30-year sentence for the highest-ranking gangster disciple gang member in Tennessee. This case involved cooperation by law enforcement at the federal and local levels, including FBI, ATF, TBI, Memphis Police, and 2 sheriff's offices. That is an example of what law enforcement cooperation can accomplish. AUSA Beth Boswell, who I can't wait to meet and tell her congratulations, worked on this case. Great job. In September, this office secured another 30-year sentence for a member of the gangster disciples. This defendant had attempted to murder with a firearm in order to enhance his position in the gang. He also served as a so-called blackout squad as a kind of enforcer. The FBI, ATF, TBI, 3 sheriff's offices, Memphis Police, of course, and many other partners worked on this case. And again, congratulations to AUSA Beth Boswell for her work on that case. And just 2 weeks ago, prosecutors in this office put an armed robber behind bars for 30 years again. This seems to be a kind of a rhyme here. That case was investigated by the FBI's Safe Streets Task Force and prosecuted not by Beth, unfortunately, but by AUSA Reagan Taylor. Reagan, great work. There are a lot of other cases that we could talk about. You're doing incredible work here, Mike, and you have kept me updated, and I appreciate that. You have taken seriously your charge to identify and prosecute the most violent offenders. But as Mike has noted in a recent opinion piece, which he forwarded to me, quote, that focus is only meaningful if it results in better outcomes, reduction in violent crime rates. And it is there that your work has truly proven successful. Here in Memphis, working together on a state, local, and federal level, gun crimes went down 17% through the first 9 months of this year. Murders went down 17%, robberies went down 12%, rapes went down 18%, and domestic violence incidents went down 11%. Those are good trends, and everyone in this room deserves credit for it. We are seeing these results all across our country where our United States attorneys like Mike are reinvigorating their efforts against violent criminals. And of course, it's under the umbrella of Project Safe Neighborhoods, which allows them to uniquely tailor their strategy based on the local needs of their local community. Just like in Memphis, in cities and towns where U.S. attorneys and their local partners are identifying the most violent offenders in their communities and ensuring they are held accountable in federal, state, or local systems, we are reducing crime rates. Those efforts have helped us achieve our goals as a department nationwide. In fiscal year 2018, which ended September 30th of this year, the Department of Justice charged more defendants with gun crimes than in any other fiscal year in our department's history. In fact, we broke the record by an astounding 17%. More importantly, violent crime and homicide went down nationwide in 2017. For 2018, one estimate projects the murder rate in our 29 biggest cities will decline by almost 8%. We should celebrate these achievements as law enforcement, but I'm here to say we're just getting started. Today, I'm announcing a new Memphis Crime Gun Strike Force led by ATF. The strike force will initially be composed of highly experienced ATF agents and officers from the Memphis Police Department. To launch the strike force, ATF is realigning 5 agents and 1 senior supervisor. Over the long term, we plan to add more ATF agents and expand participation to additional law enforcement partners. In fact, some of you folks here, I'm going to be asking you for something later in our meeting. For now, it will be housed at ATF, but we hope that we can move the strike force into its own dedicated office soon. The strike force will allow us to increase the focus of our investigations on those actively engaged in gun violence, the trigger pullers and the gun traffickers who supply them. That will enhance our capacity to investigate the criminals and organizations who operate across districts and across state borders. The strike force will work closely with this office and the Shelby County District Attorney, Amy Wyrick, to ensure violent firearm offenders are identified, investigated, and prosecuted. In short, it will help us build on what we have already achieved over the past 2 years with your cooperation. The Department of Justice is going to continue to work to keep our communities safe. We are going to continue to support our state and local partners, and I believe that our partnerships are going to continue to deliver these results. And so I want to conclude with something a mentor said every time I saw him speak in front of a group of law enforcement and prosecutors. And it's as true as when he said it as it is today. At the Department of Justice, we have your back and you have our thanks. God bless the United States of America, and thank you so much for everything you do every day to make our communities safer.